righty.
Hi, Keith, how you doing?
Good, you? Hello, hello? Hello?
Hey, Keith, how you doing?
Good, you? Fire away.
What do you like about your team so far?
I think, first off, they're trying to defend. We haven't consistently defended, but they're trying. They're trying to do what we ask them to do. That's the bottom line. It's just they've been dealt a hard deck, really. Like in a year where you can't have too many injuries, we've had more than I've had in probably 3 years. So it's a hard deal for them.
How fortunate is it that Tarrant, it wasn't as serious as maybe it was on the court and that would be able to play Friday?
It wouldn't have been easy without him Friday. It's not going to be easy with him, but I mean, it's fortunate. And when you watch it on tape, you can see that, he turned it, but you can see that it probably wasn't going to be too serious. So when he walked off, I thought, oh boy, here we go. But again, you can't control that stuff, so you just gotta get them all out of your system.
What's your video study showing you like it so far?
Well, it's a typical of his teams. If you know a lot about him, when I say him, I Coach Stallings. Very fluid offensively. Obviously having some struggles because of youth. A lot like us in the sense that just trying to, figure out who to play, when to play, who to shoot, who to pass, who to, same issues we have. But, you don't coach as long as he has and not do some really good things, and they're very, very fluid offensively. He's one of the best offensive coaches in the country. So,
Coaches say the same thing about him.
No, he's really good offensively. Like the stuff they're kind of a mixture of some of the Princeton stuff and some two-guard stuff, and he's got a lot of these little nuances. He coaches like a football coach, like progression. Like if he'll run the same look and run, instead of handing the ball off, they'll run a play-action pass. It's the same type of. So very few coaches in the country coach like that, and so he has a good niche offensively that most people, you don't play against that much anymore because most people now are just spread out and ball screening and they're moving you around like a Princeton type of team. And it's just you can tell that he's coached in leagues where they've had better athletes than him, and he's manufactured shots with skill and finesse. And so a lot of respect for like their system, really good. You can tell they spent a lot of time at it.
You don't get the same look from one possession to the next.
No, you get the same look, but there's different endings to it.
Yeah.
So like he's a, like they'll cut off that high post, they'll cut off of it 5 times in a row, and never even look at it, and then the 6th one they'll throw for a layup, because what they're doing is take advantage of human nature, which is, okay, I don't really have to get through this hard because they're not really looking at it. Or they'll throw it to the wing, right, and 7 times in a row they'll just wait for the next cut, but the 7th time they'll drive it. Or they'll back cut you on the wing on the 7th one. Just little things that they do that you normally don't see teams do. You can tell he's a, high-level experienced coach. So if he doesn't win, it's not going to be because he's not a good coach. It's going to be because he doesn't have good enough players. So he's not going to get out-coached. He's a good coach. So anybody that thinks the guy's not a good coach doesn't know anything about basketball. He's a really good coach. It's going to be whether, just like with us, whether we can get good enough players. Simple as that. That's what this business is about. If and I know I'm being a little long-winded,
That's fine.
but let's use Shaka as an example. So everybody thinks Shaka Smart's a really good coach, right? And he's my guy, so I can say this. If I have better players than Shaka, I'm beating him. He may not like to hear that, but it's true. And if you ask 90% of the people in America who's the better coach, they're going to say him, right? but I'm winning if I have better players than him. I learned that in high school. I got my brains beat in by some guys that I didn't think were very good coaches, but they had better players than me. So I think that's the misnomer in this business. Now, obviously, there's some guys that are better than others at managing different types of situations, but overall, this comes down to putting your team together in a way that allows you to win. And so when he gets good enough guys, he'll win. And if he doesn't get good enough guys, he won't win. And if we don't get good enough guys, we won't win. Simple as that.
How do you match up against Pitt?
They got more guys than us. I mean, I told our guys all our games are going to be the same pretty much, right, in this preseason. They should all be close games. Like, they're not physically that much better than us. Obviously, they're in the ACC, so they should be able to attract better guys that we can attract, but they're young. They got 10 new guys, so, like, he's fighting some of the same things. They're inconsistent at times at both ends because they're young and new. So how do we match up? Are we better than them? I can't say that. I mean, are they better than us? I mean, I can't say that either, right? Like, they've had the same kind of struggles.
So you're predicting a 3 overtime throw?
No, you don't know. I mean, it depends. If a lot of it will come down to whether when they shoot it in, they're pretty good. And when they don't shoot it in, they struggle to beat everybody just like us. And we haven't shown we can shoot it in, so we struggle against everybody. Until you can shoot it in, you're going to struggle. You can play the best defense in the world, but if you don't make any, you're going to struggle. I mean, I hate to simplify it, but that's pretty much – you can't average 9 assists or 8 assists or whatever we average and win. Like, how can you win? You can be good at everything else, but if you don't share it and make shots, you'll be in games, but you're not going to win. Like, so they won the game last night. Again, I didn't see the ending of it yet, but I'm sure they made some shots and plays at the end of the game to win the game.
Just foul shots. 16 in a row.
Oh, is that what they made? But obviously they did some things to get to the foul line. So, again, like, you have to make those plays in the last – and that's one of the things we're fighting right now is when we get hit in the mouth, right, our reaction isn't very good yet because of all the losses that have piled up on them. So I told our guys today, look, when you get hit in the mouth the next time, just use the whole clock. Just don't try to make big plays. Just simplify it and use the whole clock.
Keith, is it tough to get a read from them because Kevin is sort of mixing and matching? He's sort of just throwing guys out there and seeing what works. I mean, the system might be one thing, but when you've got different players in different spots all the time, how difficult is it to sort of prepare?
Well, I think early on they were playing a little bit bigger than they are now. Again, I didn't see the game last night yet. I'll see it after this. But they were playing Stevenson at the 3 spot, and now they're playing Stevenson a little more at the 4 spot off the bench. And they're playing Luther more at the 5 now. So I'm assuming that's the direction he's going to go because they played a little bit. They've won more playing that way. Again, I don't know if they're playing better, but they won more. So I'm assuming they're going to play a little smaller, which allows them to get a little more pop offensively. When they're playing the 2 big guys, that probably helps them a little bit defensively, playing Luther at the 4, but probably doesn't help them as much offensively. So he's in the same predicament, like who's going to play on each night. The consistency level for them is like last night, Carr had a good game, right? He really hadn't done much before that, the last couple, right? And so he's in the same predicament, like you don't know what you're going to get from night to night. That's probably the worst thing as a coach, trying to figure out. You're better off to know exactly what you're going to get every single night than you are trying to flip a coin and say, hey, is this guy going to be good tonight or not very good tonight?
Keith, with your dad playing here, did you grow up knowing the history of the city game and, the importance of it to Pittsburgh?
I better watch what I say on this one. So when my dad played, this is Sid Dambrot saying this, not Keith Dambrot saying this. So Pitt wasn't even in the equation when my dad played. Like, it was Duquesne. Like, my dad would tell you they were like a JV team. That's what he told me. But then Duquesne became like a JV team, right, compared to them. So I do know the history, according to him, according to Sid, right? So that's a very biased opinion, and I can say that early on when I was young that my dad was distraught at how it flipped. He didn't like it, so maybe that's one reason I'm here.
Did you attend any of those games?
I never saw a Pitt Duquesne game. I remember though, as a kid watching Pitt with Billy Knight play NC State with Thompson and those guys in the NCAA tournament. I think it was the NCAA tournament game. So I followed Pitt for years too, because again, Jerome Lane from Akron, we played them in the NCAA tournament when Sean Miller was a freshman when I was at Eastern Michigan. So I've been around the game enough to know Pitt and Duquesne, obviously. And again, the rivalry, in order for it to really be a great rivalry, in my opinion, both teams have to be good. That's kind of how I see it. Now, it's been a good rivalry anyway, but if both teams were good, it could be an unbelievable rivalry. It could be Duke, North Carolina. We kind of had a mini one at Akron, with Kent State being 15 minutes away, and both of us were good. So it became a free-for-all, So hopefully both programs take off, and it becomes a big-time rivalry. But how many has Duquesne won?
They haven't won back-to-back in, decades.
Okay, but they've won very few, right?
30?
No. In the last
Oh, a bunch of years now.
maybe
That's
4.
First time since 2000.
So, look, we got to do our part at some point.
How much do you hear about this game, from people at the university? I mean, is it a thing? I mean, I know you got a lot of work here to do, but when Pat Rodriguez took a job at Pitt, people ask him about Penn State immediately. Do people around the university talk about this more than, no offense to Delaware State, than they will Delaware State?
I don't know. Look, I'm always going to be honest with you guys. So, people may not like that I say this. Look, I want to win the game, but I've got bigger fish to fry. You understand? I got enough issues on my plate that I just got to get my team playing better and trying to build it from the ground up. So one win over Pitt isn't going to make or break us in the grand scheme of where I want to take the program. And one loss against Pitt isn't going to make or break us. I don't want to sound like I'm not competitive, because I am. I'd love to win the game. Don't get me wrong. But I want to win every game. So to me, the Cornell game or the Robert Morris game or any game, at this point of where I am with our program, is just as important as every other game. And I have to view it that way. And in some ways, even the process of getting our guys to learn how to win and to learn how to win even small battles is more important than any particular game at this point. Because, again, they won the city game last year and it didn't do anything for them really, right?
What are some of the small battles you're fighting?
Just, handling adversity, making sure that our guys understand what it takes to really be complete winners. Making sure that defensively we become a sound team, and making sure we play hard enough on a consistent basis to win. And again, that's hard to – the biggest problem I've had probably since I've been here is it's so hard to judge that because of our circumstance, right? Are we playing hard, or are we using it as an excuse we only have 7 guys? I can't pinpoint that. You know what I mean? Am I overworking them in practice to the point that they can't win in the game, or should I just push them so hard that nothing else matters? Those are dilemmas, right? Because I'm trying to build it. That's probably been the hardest thing for me, because I'm not used to how to handle 7 or 8. It's just not the way my style is, and I can't, because it's stupid, right? I mean, I can't do it. So I can't judge where we're at. I know we're not very good right now. You know that? I mean, it's obvious, we're good enough to win, but we're not very good, obviously. I mean, you have to beat Cornell. You have to beat, no disrespect to Robert Morris, but if you're going to be a good A-10 team, you have to beat those teams. Just like Pitt has to beat us if they're going to be a good ACC team until we get up to a top 25 level, right? So like Pitt doesn't necessarily have to beat, let's say, Rhode Island on a good year, but they have to beat marginal A10 teams in order to be where they want to be, right? So that's kind of where, I don't know, I kind of diverge a little.
No.
It's kind of where I'm at. I mean, it's so hard for me to judge. Like, my whole thing is, like, I have to quit worrying about the present and worry about the future on a consistent basis. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I have to. I don't have any choice, right? Because if I don't, I'm going to shortcut the program, and that's going to derail us. So one of the things we did at Akron is I took all high school guys, for the most part. A couple transfers, 2 junior college guys at 13 years. And I did it purposely because I felt like that was the way to build the program so that it never would be in a bad way. Even they're complaining now, for instance, that they're young, but we left them a third-year sophomore that had redshirted, a fourth-year junior, Jamond Ivey, a guy that sat out half a year last year. So we left it in, and that's with 5 guys leaving, transferring. They still have good guys there because we built it from the ground up the right way. So you can't make many mistakes on your recruiting, especially when you're behind in the race. Like at Akron, we could make 1 or 2 because it didn't matter. We had so many guys stockpiled. But here, we can't make any if we're going to jump up. And so that's kind of how I'm viewing it. I'm viewing everything long term. And it's hard for me because look, I've won for 16 straight years, so like this is a new experience for me. We're 2-2. I sound like we're losing, but 2-2 is losing to me. So I gotta change my thought process as well. Because look, inevitably, if we don't get any healthier, we're not winning in the Atlantic 10, right? It's not. I can sit here and BS you guys, but we're not going to win unless we get a little healthier, right? We can't. You can't win in that league with what we have right now, right? I don't see it. So we need to get 3-4 more guys, and then we'll be able to compete a little better.
Is Derek James going to be okay?
Yeah, he's going to be okay. He may be able to play Friday. He hasn't practiced yet, so I wouldn't count on him probably playing much. But if I can get him for 5, 6, 8 minutes, it even helps me. You know, like just trying to keep guys fresh so that they can make a play when it matters is hard.
And just to confirm, Terrence should be good to play Friday.
He practiced today. I didn't think he moved great, but beats the alternative.
Right. And then I know Chaz and Marco are supposed to be coming back relatively soon in December. Are they looking like that might still be where the timeline?
I think Chaz may be able to play Monday.
Okay.
He may be able to play. He may be able to play. The thing we have to be careful of, and again, I've been around a lot of different kind of sports because of my son and myself. So even my son. So my son was out most of the spring and most of the fall, and came back and played 80, right? And then played 90, and it's all on him because that's what he wanted, right? But then he pulled his hamstring. So you have to be very careful because when you're not 100% and you're not in very good shape, then what happens is you have other injuries. So we're going to be very, very careful with Chaz. So it might mean 4 or 5 minutes one game, 7, 8 minutes the next, 10, almost like a pitcher with Tommy John, right? You got a pitch count, right? You know about baseball. So same type of thing. We have to resist trying to get him out there too quick. It's not in his best interest, and certainly isn't in ours if he gets hurt again. Now, we can't control all that, but we can help.
Same thing with Marco.
Yeah, Marco's a little farther out than,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I think Friday he's cleared to at least start movement. I think it's Friday. But so, again, it's his left wrist, so getting that mobility back to be able to shoot the ball is going to be key.
Because he's a lefty.
And then the hardest part is just system-based. Like, we haven't had him. Like, Chaz hasn't practiced at all, and Marco barely because he had the ankle sprain before. So it's almost like starting the season over again. But it's all right. Like, again, if you view it long-term, then you just got to roll with it.
Is Chaz moving well in practice?
Well, the thing that Chaz is really good at is he's competitive. So again, another emotionally engaged guy. Like, I can't imagine you can play good after 2 months, but he moves pretty good. He's a good athlete, and he's strong as an ox. So just getting another big body that plays hard, like, that can't hurt you, right? I mean, he's just a man. It just allows us to let those young kids just be what they are, which is young kids.
It was probably really surprising when Mike didn't score against Robert Morris. Did you have to talk to him much after that game? You just let him go?
It's a good question. It's funny. I'm a little bit the other way. Like, I think the more big deal you make out of failure, the worse it becomes. I mean, the only thing I told him about is, look, everybody's gotten hit in the mouth. You only have two choices when you get hit in the mouth. Either you put the white flag up or you keep fighting it working. And so he handled it well. Like, I'm sure he didn't like not starting, but I didn't really not start him because he didn't make shots. I not started him because I felt like he was the third best defensively out of those three guards. So if he's not making shots, I guess, then I just felt like we had to be a little bit better defensively against that. But he's done better in practice. Coach Wygand's been spending extra time with him, who probably is our best coach, just at getting to guys, trying to get them to understand what we need to do. Sometimes I felt like just taking him out took a little pressure off him. I thought Jordan Robinson was the same way. I thought Jordan was almost like the piano got lifted off his back. Almost a sense of relief. Think about it, like a guy that has very little mileage, and we're asking him to really carry the load inside. That's a little bit too much, to jump into for a guy that really has never really played. Let's kind of just ease him back into it a little bit. But the thing I loved about Mike was he obviously didn't like not starting, but he really didn't let it affect him, which I think is a tribute to him.
Is he back in Friday?
I don't know. I haven't really decided. I spur of the moment, Kellen Taylor. Just felt like we needed a little energy boost, right? I haven't decided really. It doesn't really matter. They're all going to play the over 30 minutes, right? I mean, think about it. That's the hard part too. Is I know they're going to play, and they know they're going to play, and for most young people today, that's not a good thing, right? Like, there has to be some fear of the bench in order to really, for most people aren't that self-motivated. Like, I use selfishness as an example. Most people think selfishness is not making the right pass or taking a bad shot. I'll take it a step further. I think selfishness is not running back on defense, not caring if your man beats you, not getting a box out, right? That's a form of selfishness too. And until you teach them that, hey, that's not acceptable, right, then that permeates your environment, right? And there's only one way to teach them. The king of it's Huggins, right? Kanate. He didn't play 2 games, right? Only Bob. And look, people could say that's cruel, but I bet you that guy never does whatever he did again, right? So I think sometimes you have to use some negative reinforcement with positive reinforcement. Otherwise, it's the same behaviors, right? I mean, what else you got?
Have you ever coached against Stallings?
You know what? It's strangely, I didn't know Coach Stallings at all until I came to Pittsburgh, which is strange because we've both coached a long time. I guess because of the geography of it all. He was at Illinois State, but even Illinois State's kind of deep Midwest, right? Kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I know a lot of people that know him, and I've seen his teams play because I'm a basketball junkie. So I have a really good feel, and I watch a lot of Vanderbilt games. I just watch a lot of games, so I know kind of what kind of coach he is. I mean, again, he's a really good coach. It's just going to be, are they going to get good enough guys, just like us? You don't coach and win as many games as he has over the years and not be a good coach. It's just, can they get what they need to win in that league? Just like most people don't think that Duquesne can get what they need, right? You can't. Duquesne didn't have 9 bad coaches in a row, right? That's impossible, right? And they didn't get enough guys, right? For whatever reason, whether it's. Now, I don't think we're going to have trouble getting guys. Now, whether it all fits and we get a little luck here and this guy turns into a pro, that's really what it takes, right? One guy, if he gets one pro there, they're going to be in better shape than they are now. Look, so arguably, Bob, you're a big Bob Huggins guy, right? I mean, yeah. No? Bob's either going to be great or not as good. It's not going to be because of him. It's going to be whether he's got good enough guys. So this whole thing is based on who you have.
Coach is judged as much as a recruiter as he is an X's and O's guy, maybe more.
Who's that?
Any coach, he's judged as a recruiter.
If you think you're winning because of you're out of your mind, right? You have to get players. So if you don't like recruiting, you're in trouble. Or let me put it that way: if you don't do recruiting, you're in trouble. Now that the art of it is who's got those intangibles. So, like using McConnell as an example, there's millions of guys that have better ability physically than him, but he's got unbelievable intangibles. He's going to play in that league 10 or 12 years because he's got some things that other people don't have, including this tough outer edge. He's going to play. If he doesn't play 10 or 12 years, I'll be shocked because of intangibles. So that's the key to this, is winning intangibles. You have to have good players, but they have to be winning mentality players, because you can't win until you have winning guys. Simple as that. Now, that's harder than it looks, right? And you have to teach that. But that's the key to all of this. And then when you lose, that becomes an issue as well, because then, right, that kind of takes over. Even guys that potentially can be winners turn into losers. It's a hard thing.
And that sort of begs the question, when you don't have good enough players, but you have to win. I mean, your job is still to win until you get good players, right? So how do you convince that group that, hey, maybe we're not the group that we're going to be in 2 or 3 years, but we can still do this? I guess that's a challenge of the job, right?
It's hard to say. You can't really say that, can you? Because you still have to try to win right now. So you never want to lie to anybody, but you never also want to say that you can't win now. So, like with our team now, what I tell them is, look, if we do everything the right way and play a certain way, we can win. But if we don't, we're not going to win. I think that's truthful, right? Like, the really good teams can play average and win some nights. The below average teams, they have to play good every night. So when I say play good, that means, hey, you can't give up transition baskets. You can't give up second shots. You can't give up straight line drives, right? Because the good teams, if you give up a straight line drive, they'll just block it at the rim anyway, right? They got some monster back there knocking it back. Or you have to share the ball every single night. You have to play almost perfect every night if you're not very good. And you have to be defensive based, right? Like even Duke, who's number 1 in the country, I could argue right now they're not very good defensively. Now, by the end of the year, I'll be surprised if they're not. But right now, I don't think they're very good defensively, right? They've been down in games because they're not very good defensively. Like if he's starting the game playing 2-3 zone, they're not very good defensively, right? And so those are the things you have to do in order to – but you can't tell your team you're not good enough to win, because that's self-serving really, right? You still have to figure out ways to win. You may not be good enough to win 20 games, right? But you can certainly win some. It's not easy.